everyone, welcome back to another update. Today we're covering Monday, March 16th and Tuesday, March 17th, days 17 and 18 of Operation Epic Fury. The war showed signs of consolidation. CENTCOM's Admiral Brad Cooper provided a March 16th update affirming total air and sea dominance, with U.S. forces continuing to hunt and destroy remaining Iranian targets posing threats. Strikes focused on residual missile production, defense infrastructure, and regime security apparatus. Iranian missile drone attacks remained low, but Gulf states faced ongoing risks. U.S. casualties held at 13 dead, and President Trump touted total obliteration of Iran's Air Force and Navy, urged allies for Strait of Hormuz support, and warned of escalation if the strait is blocked. The Congressional War Powers push continued, and the DHS partial shutdown sparked airline warnings of travel chaos and heightened terror response concerns amid the war. Let's dive in. In the CENTCOM update given by Admiral Brad Cooper on March 16th, Cooper announced that United States forces maintain total air and sea dominance and are hunting and destroying Iranian targets that threaten Americans and neighbors. Continued waves hit remaining missile sites, defense industrial bases, and regime security, with over 7,800 targets struck, according to the White House. The focus is on degrading any residual offensive capability. Ballistic missiles have been reduced by about 90%, and the Navy has been annihilated, with over 100 vessels sunk or damaged. President Trump urged Gulf allies to send warships for Hormuz security, but received mixed responses per some reports. The number of American troops injured in the conflict rose to 200, but thankfully 180 of those injured have already returned to duty. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt emphasized an end to the conflict will come when objectives are met. Iran sent the lowest attack volume since the launch of the conflict, but threats persisted against Gulf and U.S. bases, Israel, and shipping tankers. The new Supreme Leader Moshabbeh Khomeini vowed resistance, but there's no proof he's even still alive. There were pro-regime rallies in Tehran amid the chaos, and I want to point out that anyone protesting against the regime will be killed, as we've already seen. IRGC elements are reportedly fleeing or defecting, dozens per regional sources. In other Iran-related news, according to an Australia official, the families of the Iranian women's soccer team have been detained and are now missing. Joe Kent resigned from his position as the National Counterterrorism Director due to his opposition to the Iran conflict, but as President Trump pointed out, back in 2020, Kent told Trump via X, in his words, "We should not sit and wait for the next attack, wipe Iran's ballistic capability out." News regarding the partial DHS shutdown is pretty much the same, but progressively worse. Nearly 400 TSA workers have quit, resulting in hours-long TSA lines in some places, and several missed flights. 50,000 workers have gone without pay, and some airports might have to shut down. Airline CEOs urged Congress to end the shutdown, and Americans are calling on airlines to ban members of Congress from skipping through TSA lines while Senate Democrats keep DHS shut down. FEMA non-disaster operations have halted, and the conflict with Iran has heightened security risks, with terror alerts and domestic threats inspired by the conflict. The White House did make an offer to Senate Democrats in exchange for reopening DHS, which includes expanding body cam usage, visible DHS officer IDs, and limitations on where ICE enforcement happens. On to news related to Cuba. Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel publicly confirmed high-level talks with the United States on March 13th, though they've been underway since at least late February, describing them as aimed at resolving bilateral differences through dialogue and respect for sovereignty. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is leading the U.S. side with reports of meetings involving figures close to Raul Castro's family. The Trump administration has demanded major concessions, including Diaz-Canel stepping down as a precondition for progress, though not necessarily dismantling the entire communist structure. Cuba has responded defiantly. Diaz-Canel vowed unbreakable resistance if the U.S. pushes a takeover, but also made gestures like releasing 51 prisoners Vatican brokered. However, Rubio dismissed these as insufficient without deeper political and economic reforms. Now it's time for the noteworthy tidbits, which are brought to you today by Old Glory. Let me tell you about them quick. Are you looking for a gift for a music lover, or maybe some apparel to show off your quirky side? Old Glory has you covered. With over 300,000 officially licensed items covering music, sports, entertainment, and pop culture, you're guaranteed to find the perfect item. They even have seasonal gear. My husband enjoys the Beatles and Led Zeppelin apparel, and I love the Billy Idol apparel. I even found items for my fellow plant enthusiasts. This family-owned superstore is known for their quality and customer service, offers free standard shipping on all orders, and orders are shipped the same day you purchase. My discount code gives you 15% off your entire order, and it's currently the best deal available. Just visit oldglory.com and enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. All right, let's get back to the tidbits. The president of Ecuador surged his military to eviscerate Latin American gangs and organized crime. Border Patrol Chief Greg Bovino is retiring at the end of this month after serving America for almost 3 decades. Chief of Staff Susie Wiles was diagnosed with early-stage breast cancer and is starting treatment immediately. For those that don't know, Wiles is the first woman to serve as White House Chief of Staff. The First Circuit Court upheld President Trump's ability to deport illegal aliens to third countries, meaning locations where the migrant is not originally from. Nearly 200,000 migrant truck drivers will soon lose their commercial driver's licenses due to the new Department of Transportation rule requiring drivers to be proficient in English. It was discovered that a $1 million taxpayer grant sent to Minnesota public schools for drug abuse was fraudulently spent on a Somali soccer league and an NGO. Judge Brian Murphy struck down Health and Human Services Secretary RFK Jr.'s move to recommend fewer vaccines for young children. President Trump signed an executive order to establish the White House Anti-Fraud Task Force, and he made Vice President Vance the task force leader. Trump also instructed the task force to investigate Representative Ilhan Omar for allegedly committing immigration and marriage fraud by marrying her brother. The Save America Act advanced in the U.S. Senate 51-48, and the Senate is expected to debate the act for days. The White House hosted traditional celebrations for St. Patrick's Day, including meeting with the Irish Prime Minister, the Shamrock Bowl presentation, and the Friends of Ireland luncheon. The House Oversight Committee subpoenaed Attorney General Pam Bondi to testify on the Epstein files. A longtime security guard for Jasmine Crockett engaged in a fatal altercation with Dallas police, resulting in his death after he pulled out a gun. Apparently, he was wearing fake police uniforms, posed as a federal agent, committed business fraud, stole U.S. government plates, used a fake alias, and found a way to circumvent vetting to become part of Crockett's security team. The U.S. Senate confirmed Anna St. John to the Eastern District of Louisiana. Lastly, another Black Lives Matter organizer was indicted for fraud, this one being Tanzania Ruffin, who was caught stealing over $250,000. That's March 16th and 17th in focus. Operation Epic Fury claims dominance, and the shutdown worsens travel insecurity. Is an end of the conflict in sight, or will we enter a new phase? Share your thoughts on Instagram or X at Shades of Jade Pod. If these episodes are hitting the spot, subscribe, review, and share. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.